Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in a Weekdays with Bernie segment tonight. Trump derangement syndrome. Bernie says it's an epidemic right now. He joins us from Miami. So we had Bush derangement syndrome. We had Obama derangement syndrome, too. Is this worse, the Trump deal?
It is. It is. And I will document this in just a moment, but it's even worse than cancer. I'll document that. Trump derangement syndrome has people believing that Donald Trump is Hitler. Just a few minutes ago on this program, you had several people who thought he was Hitler.
Right.
You have intellectuals with Trump derangement syndrome writing in important newspapers and other publications that Donald Trump will jeopardize American democracy and actually jeopardize American civilization. On college campuses, you had snowflakes with Trump derangement syndrome who, after he won, held a cry-in at one university, and they had therapeutic puppies to get over their trauma at other universities. And here's where the cancer comes in. There was a letter published in the Miami Herald, a letter to the editor, by a woman whose 90-year-old mother, whose name was Ruth, is a Holocaust survivor and is currently battling cancer. I'm going to read you a very, very short segment. She says, today in her beloved America, Ruth sees the same warning signs she saw in Nazi Germany. Anti-Semitism, criticism of the free press, curtailed freedom of expression, religious slurs, overt racism, and talk of punishing people for who they are and not what they believe. Okay? The thought of a president who foments and legitimizes these dangerous trends is more terrifying to her than the cancer she is battling. So, to people with Trump derangement syndrome, Donald Trump is more terrifying than cancer.
How does this happen? I don't know anybody that irrational. I mean, I have guests that are, but I don't know them in my personal life. I really don't tend to deal with hysterical people. I just don't have time to deal with it. But how do you think individuals like the Brother West and the communist guy, I mean, they're convinced that, you know, the SS is going to be formed in the next 2 months. When rational people know that's not going to happen.
But there are rational people who know that, Bill. You're absolutely right. But there are other people who are otherwise intelligent. We're not talking about like crazy people here. There are people who have, you know, advanced college degrees who really believe this crazy stuff. I mean, Donald Trump has gotten into their head in a way, well, George Bush did too. Let's you know, as you mentioned, George Bush got into their head so that the mere mention of his name, you know, they would start to foam at the mouth in some places. They, you know, their eyes would roll around in their head. It's sort of the same, except it's worse. I mean, Donald Trump drives them crazy. And for the record, you know this, but for the 2 or 3 people who don't know this, I am no fan of Donald Trump. I think he's unpresidential, and there are way, way too many examples. We'd need several hours.
But you're willing to give him a chance, right?
Not only am I willing to give him a chance, absolutely, but people with Trump derangement syndrome are ironically bringing me closer to Donald Trump because they are far more, I know, they are far more annoying than he is.
I don't know if the word annoying is strong enough. I think they're dangerous. You know, if you're not going to respect the electoral process in our country, and I don't mind them demonstrating that they don't like this policy or that policy or even Trump the guy. I don't mind that. But if you're basically going to say, look, we're not going to accept the vote of the American people. We're not going to accept the Electoral College. That's dangerous. All right, that leads to anarchy.
And it's sort of been legitimized, that crazy thinking, because articles that say that are published, you know, not in Mad Magazine or something or some crazy website. I've read articles like this in the New York Times. You know, columns in the New York Times where scholars from major elite universities write what I consider really crazy stuff about, you know, what's going to happen to America with Donald Trump. So they legitimize it. They legitimize the craziness.
There's a lot of hysteria, no doubt about it. Bernie Goldberg, everybody.